Hideo Kojima. When you hear that name, what do you think of? You probably know him as a master game designer. Maybe you think of some of his more famous games like Metal Gear Solid or Death Stranding. But some fans may think of an entirely different game. And that game is MegaMan? Game that he not only didn't create, he didn't even work on it at all. And it's from a completely different company too. So why is he connected to MegaMan? And he's not connected to MegaMan because of Super Smash Bros., even though his character, Solid Snake, and MegaMan have been fighters in that series since 2014. His relationship with the MegaMan franchise actually goes way further back than that, to 2003. Today, we'll explore exactly how it came to be and how Hideo Kojima managed to literally connect two completely incompatible games together in real time. So drink some water, do your stretches, and let's get started. As mentioned before, Hideo Kojima is a legend among most gamers because of his impressive profile of games, but even Kojima has his passion project. In the early 2000s, he came up with a new game idea that was just that. A story about a kid who would battle against vampires in a fight of light versus darkness. He set his sights on the Game Boy Advance, and for good reason. His innovative idea was to put a solar sensor on the Game Boy Advance cartridge itself. The Game Boy Advance could be played on the go, so you could bring it outside and have real sunlight directly affect the gameplay. But during the development of this game, he got stuck. He wanted this game to appeal to elementary school children, but most of his experience was making games for older audiences. Plus, since the Game Boy Advance was targeted mostly at younger children, he needed to make his game marketable towards that audience. How was he going to make a game about vampires appeal to children without scaring them off? That's where the father of MegaMan, Keiji Ifune, stepped in. The circumstances on how these two legends met is a little unclear, but they met nonetheless, and a friendship was born. One night, while these two were at a karaoke bar, instead of singing, they ended up just talking about ideas for Kojima's new game. At this point, MegaMan had a long history of games, and the games that were the most similar to Kojima's new idea were the current MegaMan role-playing games, MegaMan Battle Network. This series already had 3 main entries and a couple of side games to go along with it. After some work behind the scenes, MegaMan Battle Network 4 came out around the same time as Kojima's passion project. In 2003, Hideo Kojima released his new creation, titled Bokoro no Teiyo, which translates literally as Our Son. Kojima referred to this series under the abbreviation Boktai, and when the game was released in the West, it was titled Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand. The solar panel sensor on the cartridge proved to be an interesting and unique idea. Even if it made the cartridge a little bulky, honestly, that makes it stand out in a good way. You play as a young boy named Django, who traveled around fighting vampires with his signature weapon, the Gundel Soul. Otenko serves as your guide and mentor during your adventure. When speaking about the first Boktai game's story, Kojima said this in a 2003 interview with Nintendo Dream. The story is very intense. I wrote it, after all. It takes place in an age where the solar system is nearing the end of its lifespan. There's a tension between our sun and the huge void of space that surrounds us. It's kind of like the void is always trying to swallow our sun. The sooner the better. How would it destroy our solar system and all life we know? Consider how we evolved, by pairing off, reproducing, and bequeathing our superior genes to the next generation. But what if this process was interrupted? What if we didn't die anymore? Humanity would enter a zombie-like state of existence, living and never expiring, and thus evolution would stop. Civilization would die out, and eventually our star, too, would meet its demise. The villain of Boktai is planning just that, to transform humanity into the undead, a species of existence that never dies. However, the character Otenko-sama, who embodies the spirit of the sun, he believes the sun belongs to us, to humanity, and he fights against this villain despite knowing its lost cause. You can't ultimately win against that void of nothingness that is space. Victory is just not in the cards. And yet, he still fights. I think this is actually a pattern that reappears in all my games. The concept of a battle that's a lost cause. The Boktai series had relative success in Japan, with a total of 3 Game Boy Advance titles and 1 soft reboot on the Nintendo DS. But while the Boktai series only had 4 games, Django, Otenko, and other aspects of Boktai made its way into other games, specifically MegaMan Battle Network. When Battle Network 4 released, there was something unusual about it. Aspects of Boktai actually appeared in Battle Network 4. In the story of Battle Network 4, you battle a vampire character named Shademan, who recurs throughout the story and tries to convince you that you're destined for darkness. During your second encounter with Shademan, right before he attacks an amusement park, you enter a haunted house-styled area that outlines a simplified version of Boktai's story premise. Django himself is depicted as a fictional character in this world, and right when you reach the end of the dungeon, you learn that Shademan altered the ending to make him lose. After Shademan is defeated, you learn that, like most vampires, he's going to resurrect himself. And guess who you learn that from? Django and Otenko join you in the deepest part of the internet to eliminate Shademan once and for all. All you have to do is connect to the internet from an outside location, such as outside a local store, and embody the solar sensor idea that Kojima implemented in Boktai. Once you do, Django, Otenko, and MegaMan use the power of the sun to defeat Shademan once again. This side quest unlocks the ability to rematch Shademan to get his character attack, as well as the key that unlocks some doors. Similarly, the solar sensor you use to defeat Shademan in that cutscene can actually be used in a combination attack. All you have to do is stack 3 Gundel Soul attacks together, and you can use the pile driver. But the references go even further. Hideo Kojima himself actually cameos in Battle Network 4 as a non-player character. He appears in the amusement park right next to the vampire haunted house. If you talk to him, he'll say he wrote the story for Solar Boy Django, and gives you a hint that can help you unlock an even stronger Gundel Soul in Mega Man's game. Django himself can be used as a character attack in Mega Man Battle Network 5 and 6, and his Gundel Soul attacks also appear in these entries. Mega Man Battle Network 5's DS game also gave Mega Man a special transformation themed around Django, Soul Cross Mega Man. This transformation allows Mega Man to increase the power of his attacks when he's connected to the internet from an outside location, which is a fun reference to both that Shademan scenario and how Boktai's solar sensor works. Battle Network 6 also has a special side quest with Boktai. This time, you fight against one of Django's enemies, the Count. First, Mega Man fights the Count directly in a boss fight, but it proves to be unwinnable. Django jumps in to help and then reveals that Otenko's been kidnapped. Once you save him, you're finally able to properly fight the Count to defeat him. And, just like Django and Shademan, you also unlock the chance to use the Count's character attack. But what about the Boktai games? Yep, this crossover isn't just one way. Mega Man also appears in Django's home game. In Boktai 2, after you defeat the final boss, you get a message from Mega Man who tells you that Shademan escaped into Django's world. Shademan plans to take physical form, no longer as a computer program, but as a real vampire. To stop him, Django must collect 4 bat keys scattered around the city to enter Shademan's lair to fight him directly. My favorite part about this fight is that it uses a remixed version of Battle Network 5's main theme, and some of the sound effects from Shademan's attacks are pulled from his attacks in the Battle Network game. After defeating him, you have to purify him, just like other vampires in Boktai. With Shademan defeated, Mega Man finally returns home and gives Django a copy of his Mega Buster. Like Mega Man's Mega Buster, it's relatively weak on the surface, but it seems like it has some potential if you manage to unlock its secret. The crossover scenarios don't end there, because even after the Battle Network series ended, Mega Man and Boktai continued to connect in the first Mega Man Star Force game. This crossover scenario falls in the same vein as Battle Network 4's. You don't actually fight the boss from Lunar Nights, Margrave Reimer, but when the scenario finishes, you unlock some fun attacks that reference Lunar Nights characters. Similarly, in Lunar Nights, which is known as Boktai DS in Japan, you help Omegasys, an alien made of electromagnetic waves that fuses with a hero to form Star Force Mega Man, defeat a boss from his home game, Taurus Fire. After you win, Omegasys is able to help you in combat in other parts of Lunar Night. I'm sure you're still thinking, these are crossovers and references. Sure, but how do these games connect? And what other ways could you have them cross over that connects them the way that we described earlier? Despite their differences in gameplay and story, the Mega Man Battle Network and Boktai games are able to literally connect through the Game Boy Advance's wireless adapter feature. Battle Network 5 is able to connect with Boktai 2, and Battle Network 6 is able to connect with Boktai 3. And Mega Man Star Force is also able to connect with Lunar Nights. The DS games are only able to transfer items, including those character attacks we mentioned earlier. What's special about Battle Network 5 and 6 and Boktai 2 and 3 is that these games are actually able to battle each other. MegaMan vs. Django in real time. But how does that work? The games function in completely different ways. Yes, they have similar overworld styles, but the battle systems are drastically different. Boktai goes for the traditional overworld fighting style that's similar to classic Legend of Zelda games. And MegaMan Battle Network is a real-time card game that battles on a grid. How are MegaMan and Django supposed to fight each other if their battle systems are so drastically different? Easy. They don't. They fight someone else. When you're on the title screen of either game, you can input a special code to unlock a crossover battles option. Once Battle Network 5 is connected to Boktai 2, or Battle Network 6 is connected to Boktai 3, you get thrown into a battle against one of two vampires. If you're playing Boktai 2 or Battle Network 5, you'll fight against Shademan. If you're playing Boktai 3 or Battle Network 6, you'll fight against the Count. When Inafune and Kojima were trying to figure out how to approach this battle system, they originally thought about having both players play some kind of minigame against each other, but instead they simply decided to let Boktai players battle using their system and Battle Network players battle using their system. This way, neither player had to learn anything new to fight against each other. These battles don't use any game's main save file. To make things fair, both players have a set list of HP, powers, and equipment. Your goal is to defeat the opposing vampire before the other player does. However, you also have some equipment that can disturb the opponent and make it harder to defeat the vampire. For example, Boktai can send a disruption to Battle Network to force Shademan to immediately use his noise attack against MegaMan, and Battle Network can send a disruption to give Django a negative status effect. These are represented on screen by disturb icons. You're able to see your opponent's progress at any time, represented by a percentage of HP for both the player and their respective vampire. This style of crossover is incredibly creative, and I can't think of any other game that did anything like it. After playing a crossover battle, naturally, you get some rewards that are sent to your main save file. These rewards come in the form of crossover points, which acts as a currency you can use in each game. MegaMan Battle Network 5 and 6 each have a Boktai trader somewhere on the internet, which is a gacha-style machine that allows you to exchange the points for attacks relating to Boktai. Some of them, like Gundel Soul EX and Otenko, can only be obtained this way. Meanwhile, Boktai has a slightly different approach. Remember that Mega Buster you got in Boktai 2? Turns out it doesn't just shoot weak shots. It also can gain the ability to fire a more powerful charge shot after playing some crossover battles. In Boktai 3, you can also gain armor based on some Battle Network bosses, and if you wear all of these together, your color palette will change to match MegaMan's. The idea of a crossover battle existed even as early as the first Boktai game, but since it and Battle Network 4 had different release schedules, Inafune, Kojima, and their teams decided it was best to wait for later. But that meant it was at the forefront of their minds when it came time for the sequels. Boktai hasn't had a new game since Lunar Nights released in 2006, but its impact can still be felt. When the MegaMan Battle Network Legacy Collection was released in 2023, Boktai references came along with it. Sadly, the crossover battle feature can no longer be played, but something else was added instead. Boktai 3 was never released in the West, and as a result, the English release of MegaMan Battle Network 6 cut nearly all of the Boktai references. Only the Gundel Soul and a few background images remained. Similarly, the crossover feature for both MegaMan Star Force and Lunar Nights were removed, even though both games were still released in the West. But in comparison, Battle Network 6 lost the largest share of gameplay. Battle Network fans were especially upset about these cuts, because it removed a boss fight, 8 collectible attacks, 9 if you count the combo attack, which is properly named Crossover, a side quest, and an entire area along with it. But when the MegaMan Battle Network Legacy Collection came out, all of these features were restored, which meant most Western fans got to enjoy this lost part of Boktai history for the very first time. Boktai may not have been the highlight of Hideo Kojima's career, but for a while, it was the centerpiece of his imagination and showed us that a little bit of inspiration can go a long way.